Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising. Hope everyone's doing well.
Grand Rising. Peace, y'all. Peace.
Grand Peace is rising.
Give us some ones if y'all can hear us.
Throw them ones up.
I know, right? Let me see. What we got? Make sure I got audio. Can anybody hear us out there? Mic check, mic check, mic check.
Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Let's see. Let's see. I don't hear anything coming out the see if that helps. We got figure Grand Rising Copper Color Queen. Grand Rising Copper Color Queen. See, I can hear me now, but I can't hear anybody else.
Oh, I think you were the only one mic checking. Mic check, mic check, mic check.
Okay.
This is no sellout. This is no sellout. Mic check.
Yeah, we got you. I got you. Let's see. Interesting thing is the music's not coming through. Let me do this right quick.
No, it was coming through. I heard it on my end.
You can hear it through the headphones, but I don't know if I can hear it.
Yeah, it was coming out on
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it. All right. Cool. Good stuff. So, how was everybody's
Funny
You said sunny and goofy.
and goofy.
Really? That's what we doing. Sunny and goofy.
What can I say? It seems like it was the same for me. What about you, TMH?
Well, I regret that I was not able to join you all on Friday. But as you know, I went to Daniel's graduation from Virginia Tech. So.
Go Hokies.
And it rained. It rained on them. Like it rained for the majority of the ceremony, and they stayed out there. We're gonna leave that just like that. Yeah. They didn't have any ponchos. They didn't have any umbrellas.
Sound like somebody's school treasurer sucks.
Well, you know, it's called what they call it, PWC. So rain is not an issue as long as it wasn't thunder and lightning. You know, they was gonna have their graduation. So you know they got the overall graduation, and then they got the graduation for what you study. Grand Rising, Copper Indio, Grand Rising, Brittany Davis, Grand Rising, Copper Color Queen, Grand Rising,
Peace, Pop.
Wonderful Entertainment. So yeah, I was just telling everybody about the my weekend as far as the graduation from Virginia Tech with Danielle. It was good. She's 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 up this way now, so she's a quote unquote Woodbridge resident. She helped her move into her apartment on Saturday. So she graduated on Friday. She moved into her apartment on Saturday, and she purchased her car on Sunday.
What's up?
Yeah. And
I don't know many
Getting it done.
can do that. That's awesome.
yeah, and you know, this is
I would say.
this is coming from somebody that's, you know, she's running her own business. She's been running her own business while she was in college. So not only was she running her business full time, but she graduated magna cum laude with honors while running a full time business. So
Go, Dan. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
And they say the youth not getting it done and not paying attention. Keep proving them wrong.
oh yeah. So, you know, you'll be hearing a lot more from Doe for Degrees, and for those that choose to go the college route and graduate. If you're gonna do it, why not do it debt free? Why not graduate and don't have to worry about being saddled with college debt? I mean, that just makes sense to me. I'm just saying.
Makes sense to me too. You know.
So she'll be reaching out to a lot of the tribal councils, representatives at the universities. So that's the angle that she's going to be taking, and of course we'll be continue to reach out to the tribes that are recognized and not recognized, so we can help them out. So that's pretty much what I did this weekend, and a little tiring, but it was worth it. I enjoyed myself. So what else is going on?
Nothing much. I know Wednesday we're supposed to be having the information with our meeting with the city commissioner in Tifton. We got that scheduled up, so looking forward with that.
Okay. And that is primarily because what's the point of that? I mean, I know, but we want to make sure the audience knows.
Mainly, I want to say about a week ago there was an incident in the neighborhood. My first incident where I experienced how law enforcement and communities can get out of hand when there's no ground, no communication, and no understanding. So since going through the situation, just chose to act on it, reach out, or contact the needed people that needed to be contacted, and just start setting meetings, getting better communication with these departments and our communities. Because our taxes are hard work. There's the one who pays for these services that's supposed to watch after us. So it's just making sure people are held accountable, accountability.
Mic check. You're coming a little choppy. I think people heard you, but you were still coming in choppy. So,
yeah, I was saying basically about accountability, making sure that the communication between the everyday people and the people that's charged with the responsibility of protecting and keeping our neighborhood safe, making sure that communication is key. So if there's no communication between them two parties, who are you protecting and who are you serving,
Exactly. Okay. So, do you have any update as far as the individuals who may have been Indian, but we know they were melanated, that started all of this ruckus and caused all this problem in the first place?
Oh yeah, relocation.
Okay, so they've been relocated. So
yeah.
The problem has been eradicated.
Yeah, not in this neighborhood no more. Yeah.
And it's amazing how with all that we're learning about tribes and how we allowed them to infiltrate and be infiltrated, and how we eventually allowed the mass confusion and downright debauchery. I'm gonna use that word. Please don't ask me to spell it. We allowed it to happen in our communities, and it continues to happen to this day. So it's just a microcosm, a continuing cycle If we don't clean our own houses, we can't expect to clean our neighborhood. So
Facts. And you got to be willing to make a start someplace. This statement that one person can't change the world, people need to stop. Your world consists of what revolves around you. Change what revolves around you, and by default, you change your world.
So blaming somebody else and just waiting for somebody else to fix the problem is not the solution. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, you're sitting there looking like a fool.
Okay, just wondering. So, also too, shout out to Doodle Vision. He put together a bunch of hangouts for all of those that are in different states so that we can be more efficient with the genealogy. So for those of you who sent out emails and who are in the Texas area, there is a hangouts that you can be a part of. So you should have got the email. And he was actually doing some work this weekend. Shout out to Copper Color Queen. She found out who her tribe is. It was excuse me, it was refreshing to be able to witness that and witness it live. Just to, he asked a couple of questions. She basically had done all her work on the back end, meaning she had her genealogy going back at least 3 or 4 generations, at least to the 1840s, 1850s time frame. It's easy for the genealogists to help you if they know 3 or 4 generations back, the county, the state, and if at all possible, death date, birth date and death date. So just letting everybody know that work is getting done. Just because it's a weekend, don't mean we took a break. So for those of you who still need help with your genealogy, send us your emails, and we will be more active or proactive in helping you get your tied into your tribes and getting your genealogy done. So what's going to happen is you'll be broken down by states. So there'll be a hangout for every state. Is there anything I'm missing, Bones? Those are.
Oh yeah. Want to thank everybody for their patience with the migration of the website. It was being transferred from one host to another hosting platform. Everything is back up and running. So the genealogy page, the information page, everything is back. And again, thank you for your patience. We just had to move it over to make sure we can protect everybody's information better.
That's what's up. So that's basically what's been going on, and in our communities. Again, the goal is to help everybody that wants to help their community. Period, point blank in discussion. Website addresses in the chat. So there we go. That's what's up. So we've started on the, I guess for lack of better terms, the enemy side of the American Revolution.
Yep.
The Britain side.
Yep.
So Friday, you covered the Iroquois, the Onondaga, and the Mohawk, right?
Correct.
So now we're going to move on to the Cayuga. And again, this is the American Revolution, or as you can look at it, it's the Indian Wars, basically. The parties involved are in this corner: United States, France, Spain, Vermont, Netherlands, Mysore, Oneida, Tuscarora, Watauga Association, Catawba, Lenape, and Choctaw versus Great Britain, the Loyalists, German auxiliaries, Iroquois, Onondaga, Mohawk, Cayuga, Seneca, and Cherokee. And the result of this war was the Treaty of Paris. Britain recognizes the independence of the United States of America and end of the First British Empire. So that was the result. Is there anything that you wanted to recap, Bones, before we move forward from Friday, just in case people missed anything?
Yeah, this part of that we read Friday that in 2013, the tribe was selling their land in New York for gambling rights and to collect taxes. You know that a lot of this stuff is still happening. A lot of these changes are happening in present day time. Everything isn't distant history.
So what tribe was that? Do you remember?
What is the Onondaga?
Okay. So
The Onondaga or
the Onondaga, Onondaga.
Oneida and all that. What was the question? I didn't remember. I'm trying to answer the question, but I have heard the question.
The question was, which tribe was it that basically sold themselves out for action in the casino?
Yeah, I was about to say. We've been butchering these names.
Yeah, it was Onondaga that we read about Friday. That in 2013 they went to the New York legislators and they put their tribal land in the trust and returned to collect New York state taxes and to be under the state's jurisdiction and to be able to operate and run gambling casinos. And that's 2013 when they did that.
So, wouldn't that make them citizens now? Or they're giving up some of their rights as a first class citizen.
They gave up all the jurisdiction to be under the jurisdiction of New York State. So yeah, they technically citizens now. Legally, technically, yeah. No matter how you want to slice it, citizen.
That's interesting. Oh, I know what I wanted to share. Remember when James Do Division put in the back chat about politicians are trying to remove the blood quantum certification for tribes.
Yes. Somebody nervous.
Do y'all understand the significance of removing the blood quantum certification? Because it's a certification that has to go through the United States. So if they remove that certification, then the tribes will be forced to recognize Indians based on genealogy alone. So it won't be genealogy and blood quantum, it'll just be genealogy.
Somebody nervous.
So that's some big news. So shout out to Do Division for doing the research on that and putting that out there. As we're starting to realize, a lot of this stuff is going to happen regardless. It can't be stopped. It's just we want to make sure that we're on the right side of it happening. Make sure we're on code and we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Facts. Getting it right, 7 generations forward.
So, gotta clean out our house first. So y'all ready to get started? Everybody out there got their hard hats and their shovels and their backhoes and.
Grand Rising Arthur Gray. You hit me up. The website genealogy page is back up and running. I know the brother hit me up twice trying to get on there and get some work done. Sorry for the inconvenience, but it's back up and running for you, Arthur Gray. Grand Rising.
All right, so I'm gonna I just dropped a link to the Cayuga people from Wikipedia.org. The Copy said the world is waiting for us to wake up and for the institutions to admit who we really are. Well, Copy Indio, that is correct. The institutions are already admitting who we are. And if you think about it, they gave us the ability to self-identify. So, the way things are done is it's never a situation to where they're denying who we are. They're just making it difficult for us to find out who we are, along with, minor roadblocks, major roadblocks. Yeah,
they're not gonna block you. You gotta remember, when you come to political and governments, they're always gonna make sure they keep plausible deniability. So they'll always give you the information. You just got to do the work. That's how governments work. So that would never they stop you or held you back. No, they'd be like, I gave it to you. You didn't do it. Can't do it for you.
And and I've never seen this, and maybe some of you out there in the chat have, but I've never seen a situation to where the government has actually denied the fact that Indians were melanated. I've never seen it. Now that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just haven't seen it. Only people that I know that talk about us not being melanated are our own people. Well, and of course, some of the some of the
natives.
yeah, some of the Native Americans that are saying that we're trying to steal their birthright or what have you. But outside of that, I haven't heard any government institution do it. They have enough people that's going to do it on their behalf. They don't have to do it.
To the point, the government is not going to block it, because if the government believed that we wasn't, why would they make sure there's so many resources and outlets for us to find out who we are?
Right. The same door that we got, the same door that we walked out of is the same door that they left open so their minority could walk in.
And let's not forget, a lot of these European families are tied into Indian tribes. A lot of them are tied into tribes. So if they was to shut that down like that, by default, they harm themselves. So the default is they have to leave certain doors open. Don't sit around sleeping and think it's going to be open forever. It's a door. It can be closed.
The sad part is if we don't do this right, we'll be the ones that end up closing. That's why we got to make sure things are done right. Because, you ever been in a situation where you got a good thing, you tell the wrong person, they mess up for everybody?
Yeah, man. Yep, know how that goes.
And then what happens is because that one person or that one group or that one organization decided to exploit it and use it for ill, then everybody loses the right to have access to it. That's the reason why cleaning out your own house is so important, because we can't be allowing ourselves to work with individuals that mean our people no good. Because if they're out just to get paid and out for money, and they're not concerned about 7 generations, then we can't afford. And this is with any program. If you have any program that can help anybody, and you know how it operates and you know how it runs, think about this. Would you hand it over to somebody that's only out for exploiting their people and out for themselves, and once they get it, they don't care if it gets closed? Something to think about. So again, we gotta clean our own houses. We gotta stay away from the scammers. Let them get themselves right. Let them get themselves corrected. And then, if they show and prove that they're worthy to be let back in and learn what's sacred, then so be it. But until then, yeah, we got guards on every door and every window. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So Cayuga people. All right, I sent the link. So the link has already been sent. And the purpose of the link is for not only for you to follow along if you're able, but also if there's anything that we've missed, or there is something that we need to take into consideration because it was not mentioned or we misquoted or misstated, please do not hesitate to bring the correction, because accountability works both ways.
Right, both ways. And we all doing this together. Not one of us is over the next one. We're sitting here working together to put this info out. And the more of us that work together, the smoother it becomes.
Mm-hmm. So look, if we all police ourselves and each other, we won't need no police. How about that? So the Cayuga, or as it could be pronounced, the Gayocoyo, or Gayogohono, which literally means people of the Great Swamp, was one of the 5 original constituents of the Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois, a confederacy of Native America in New York. The Cayuga homeland lay in the Finger Lakes region along Cayuga Lake, between their league neighbors, the Onondaga, to the east, and the Seneca to the west. Today, the Cayuga people belong to the Six Nations of Grand River, First Nation in Ontario, and the federally recognized Cayuga Nation of New York, and the Seneca Cayuga Tribe of Oklahoma. So it seems like they're recognized in 3 areas, right? It states that their total population is 12,450 in New York, 5,000 in Oklahoma, 7,000 in Ontario. It says regions of significant population: Canada, Ontario, New York, United States, and Oklahoma. The languages they speak: Cayuga, English, Iroquoian, and other Iroquoian languages. Their religion: Kayahioi, Kanoa Haoi, and Kanekioi, Longhouse, Handsome Lake, Christianity. So these are religions that they practice. And it says related ethnic groups: Seneca Nation, Onondaga Nation, Oneida Nation, Mohawk Nation, Tuscarora Nation, and other Iroquoian people. Grand Rising, Consuela Richardson. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. Consuela Richardson. If I didn't pronounce your name right, please put it in there phonetically so we can get it right, because I don't want to be mispronouncing anyone's name. So let's get down to the history of the Cayuga. So political relations between the Cayuga, the British, and the 13... Huh?
Oh, I don't mean to cut you off. No, I see she showed up in the chat. I want to give appreciation for Consuelo Richardson for actually helping me with the link to set up with the commissioner. So I want to appreciate you for taking the time and setting that up for us. And like I said, A2 thanks you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you. So I'm glad I pronounced your name right. All right, awesome. Cool. That's what's up. So let's talk about the political relations with the Cayuga. So the political relations between the Cayuga, the British, and the 13 colonies during the American Revolution were complicated and variable, with Cayuga warriors fighting on both sides, as well as abstaining from war entirely. So what we already know, what they already established from a historical standpoint, the Cayuga were basically broken into 3 fractions: those working with the British, those working with the 13 colonies, and those that were abstaining from the war. So you had a neutral faction, you had a British friendly faction, you had a 13 colonies faction. Most of the Iroquois nations aligned with the British, in part hoping to end encroachment on their lands by colonists. In 1778, various Iroquois bands, often allied with British colonial loyalists, what they call Tories, conducted series of raids along the frontier from Connecticut to New York and in south-central Pennsylvania, threatening much of the Susquehanna River. From the revolutionary government's point of view in Philadelphia, several of these were atrocities. And in the early summer, that body proceeded to order Washington to send regiments to quell these disturbances. So basically what it boils down to is a majority of the Cayuga had decided that they were going to side with the British and start raiding the 13 colonies, territories. Consequently, in 1779, General George Washington of the Continental Army appointed General John Sullivan and James Clinton to lead the Sullivan Expedition, a retaliatory military campaign designed to unseat the Iroquois Confederacy and prevent the nations from continuing to attack New York militias and the Continental Army. The campaign mobilized 6,200 troops and devastated the Cayuga and other Iroquois homelands, destroying 40 to 50 villages. Those destroyed included major Cayuga villages such as Cayuga Castle and Chanodote, Peachtown. The expedition, with attacks from the spring through the fall, also destroyed the crops and winter stores of the granted land, thereby the British, in recognition of their loyalty to, excuse me, their loyalty to the crown. So they had sent 6,200 troops to battle these Cayuga. So they had the Cayuga Castle and the Chotadote. Should we delve into this? Should we put our hard hats on and delve into the Cayuga Castle?
Let's go. Hard hat, boots. Got 3 backhoes coming. Doop, doop.
I'm not. I can't with you. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the chat. So those who wish to follow along and catch anything we miss or make any corrections, please feel free to do so. So it's called the Goyogowin, also spelled or pronounced Gaya Ganihi, and known as the Cayuga Castle, was a major village of the Cayuga Nation of the Iroquois Indians, or Haudenosaunee, in the western central New York State. It was located on the eastern shore of Cayuga Lake on the north side of the Great Bully Brook and 10 miles south of the large 17th century Cayuga town of Teohito, and approximately along the southern line of the modern-day township of Springport, New York. It was located about 4 miles north from Chotadote, the present-day location of the village of Aurora, New York, and about 2 miles south of the village of Union Springs, New York. Goyuoguin was established at least as early as 1656 when the French mission of St. Joseph's was founded nearby. It remained occupied through the late 17th century and most of the 18th century. It was abandoned after being destroyed by U.S. forces in 1779, but was reoccupied until 1784. In 1656, Jesuit missionaries Joseph Chaminade and Rene Menard came to the area from Onondaga territory, said to be invited by the Cayuga chief. Here we go. Scienchiogua. They were followed later by Etienne de Carheil and Pierre Rafi. The Jesuits built there apparently the first Christian church west of Onondaga territory. Their mission at Goyogowin was named St. Joseph. So, according to this, they were invited by Chief Scienchiogua. So this appears to be another instance of a chief of a tribe inviting Jesuits in or some form of religious entity for whatever purpose or reason, because I guess they felt that it might be in their best interest to become, I guess, for lack of better terms, more civilized. So we about to go digging because we want to find out who this Chief Scienchiogua or Scienchiogua is. So bear with me. You know how this goes. You know how this works, y'all. So when I type on his name, let's see. Nope. It's not giving me anything. Give me a second. More than one way to skin a cat, right? So I'm gonna do a search. Let's see. Sending me to the New World Encyclopedia. See what we can find about the chief. We'll have to come back because I don't want to spend too much time searching for this chief. Just know that this chief, Santiago, was responsible for inviting the Jesuit missionaries to the Cayuga tribe. If anybody can find them or find any information about them, please drop the link in the chat, and we will read about them. It also states that at the first visit of the Jesuits, Goiguin was described as a village of longhouses with ridge-pole roofs covered with elm bark, in the midst of the fields of corn which extended to the edge of the forest. In 1671, Rafik described the country surrounding Goiguin as follows. Goiguin is the fairest country I've seen in America. It is a tract between two lakes and not exceeding 4 leagues in width, consisting of almost uninterrupted plains. The woods bordering it are extremely beautiful around Goiguin. Around Goiguin, there are killed more than 1,000 deer annually. Fish, salmon, as well as eels, as well as other fish are plentiful. 4 leagues from here I saw by the side of the river Seneca 10 extremely fine salt springs. At the time of the American Revolution, Goiguin consisted of 15 large, square-long houses, deemed to be very well built, but the scouting parties of the Sullivan-Clinton campaign and in the vicinity were 110 acres of corn, besides apples, peaches, potatoes, turnips, onions, pumpkins, squash, and other vegetables in abundance. The village was destroyed by the American troops on September 23, 1779. And a monument was erected in 1929 by New York State, stands near the location of Goiguin. So basically, they came and saw these longhouses that were very well built. They weren't teepees. They weren't mud huts. They were physical structures that sustained a good number of people. Because remember, they had communal living. And they saw acres of basically farmland. Corn, apples, peaches, potatoes, turnips, onions, pumpkins, squashes, and other vegetables in abundance. Also, too, there was plenty of fish to be had and plenty of deer. So if you look at it from this perspective, you live on a land where the food is abundant and you have shelter. What else do you need? What can somebody give you if you don't need anything? And hopefully we can start to understand why the Europeans deemed it necessary to control the land and the resources, because by controlling the land and the resources, they could now control the needs of the people.
Aha.
Because if you look at what they all had and what all they had access to, what would they need? If you think about it, why do people work today? The necessities, right? Food, clothing, shelter.
Yep. Yeah, food, clothing, and shelter, the basic 3 needs.
So if you have that, you wouldn't really need anything else, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Anything else would just be extra.
So we read about the Cayuga Castle. Let me go back. Let's see if I missed anything. Nope. Cover that. Close that. So the other area, the other village, Cayuga village, was called Chandote, which is actually translates to Peach Town. So we're gonna talk about this town too. And I'll put this in the chat. Again, take this information into consideration. It's only 1/3 of what of information. Basically means you can only believe a third of it. Because there's 3 sides to every story. Side A, side B, and the truth. And you can only get the truth by knowing what side A is and side B is. So in order for us to get the truth, we'd have to find somebody who's part of tied into one of these tribes.
Mm-hmm. That's why we keep saying genealogy is key, so you can know the other parts of the story.
Exactly. So Chanadote was an 18th century village of the Cayuga Nation of Iroquois, or Haudenosaunee, in what is now upstate New York. It was located about 4.5 miles south of Goigowen, on the east side of Cayuga Lake. Earlier, during the 17th century, this village was known as Diawendote, or Village of the Constant Dawn. Chanadote was known as Peach Town to the American Army because of its orchards of over 1,000 peach trees. It consisted of about 14 longhouses and stood very near the site of the present-day village of Aurora, New York. On September 24, 1779, the village became the last one to be destroyed by Sullivan Clinton campaign under the command of William Butler. As remorseless as a cannon shot, the axe leveled every tree though burdened with its loads of luscious fruit, and the freshly ripened corn was gathered only to be destroyed. At 10 o'clock a.m., the torch was applied to the dwellings, and was crackling flames lifted their fiery heads over this scene of havoc and destruction. Following the war, many Cayuga relocated to the Seneca reservations of Tonawanda. Archaeological digging has pinpointed the likely location of the Chanadote on the northern end of Aurora. Potsherds have been found, and evidence of the use of coal in the 1770s were discovered. A historical marker denoting the location of Chanadote can be found in front of the Aurora Inn. In September 2000, Wells College in Aurora held a festival, Return to Chanadote, honoring the area's Haudenosaunee, past and present. The event was co-sponsored by SHARE, Strengthening Haudenosaunee and American Relations Through Education. Members of the Cayuga Nation and Onondaga Nation, and Ithaca College. So after destroying it, many years later, they have a festival for it. Grand Rising Free.
Grand Rising Free, peace. But even listen to it, a lot of people know the story of New York, how New York was a wooded area, lush fruit trees, and different type of vegetation. And now we're getting into the stories where people can see why New York is known as the concrete jungle. They stripped them islands at every tree they had.
Yeah. So let's look at the Tonawanda Reservation, which is where the Cayuga moved after their longhouses were burnt down. We're talking about a band of the Haudenosaunee. So the Tonawanda Indian Reservation is an Indian reservation of Tonawanda Band of Seneca Indians located in western New York. The band is a federally recognized tribe, and in the 2010 census had 693 people living on the reservation. The reservation lies mostly in Genesee County, extended into Erie and Niagara counties. It is bordered by the towns of Alabama, Pembroke, Newstead, and Royalton. The Tonawanda Reservation is also known as the Tonawanda Creek Reservation. Currently, it has more than a half dozen businesses located on Bloomingdale Road within the reservation. Several sell untaxed low-price cigarettes and gasoline. Other businesses sell craft goods, groceries, and prepare food. I am so glad they mentioned this.
Yep.
So this is a way that once you find your tribe, you can help them. You figure that
talking about.
Yeah, you figure there's 693 people that are living on the reservation. They say they have 10. What they say they have more than half a dozen business located in Bloomingdale Road within the reservation. Several sell untaxed, low-priced cigarettes and gasoline. Other businesses sell Seneca craft goods and groceries and prepare food. You got to realize majority of these tribes. Well, a lot of these tribes. I'm not gonna say majority. It's a broad sweeping statement. A lot of these tribes sell what they know, and they have businesses based off of what was passed down to them. Yep. So they're not tied in the way that you and I are tied in, because they're living on these reservations. And in many cases, has been proven by other YouTubers that have actually shown and been in contact with these tribes, a lot of these tribes are in worse condition than the ghettos, the hoods that we live in or live near.
Some of them are no exaggeration, 20 to 50 times worse than your worst hood.
So
poverty rate,
right,
divorce rates, drug.
So I think many people feel reservations are all somehow tied into casinos and the like, and they have massive amounts of income, and they don't. They get stipends from the government or the city, depending on how they're listed. So they are struggling to be self-sufficient. And the best way to be self-sufficient is to sell goods and services. But if you don't know what to sell, and you only have expertise in certain things because you've been living on a reservation all your life, and all you know is reservation life, then your exposure to businesses and information is limited. That's why it's important for people to know who their tribe are, so they can come in and inject new information, new talents, and new skill sets.
Look at it.
Go ahead, Bones.
No, I was adding on what you were saying. That's why we make it our duty here. If you do your genealogy, find your tribe, tie into your tribe. We're here to help you help your tribe, because at times in this assembly, we understand what the challenges are. That's all I was adding on.
No, well said. So I think many times, because either we don't know or we're not choosing to research and study, people are under the impression that these tribes have all this money, have access to all these funds, and they don't. So when people ask the question, well, why don't they reach out? Many of them don't even have the resources to reach out. And number two, again, listen to the way that we speak on these YouTube channels. Would you risk losing what you have to be associated with some people that could potentially end up on a BIE list? I was just thinking about something, Bones. That's something we need to put information out on. What does it take to be considered for the BIE list? Because I don't think many people understand that it's a lot more. It's a lot easier to be put on a BIE list than people think. Most people are under the assumption that you have to make threats against the country and you have to be verbally violent. And no, you don't. It's not that simple. Or it's not as.
If you got a platform and you preaching hate right now, you can get on that list. That's simple.
So we'll definitely get information out to people so they'll know what we mean when we say being considered an extremist hate group. Because it's not about threatening to blow somebody up or threatening to kill somebody. Just any hate speech. Bordering on bullying, basically.
Yeah.
So back to the Tonawanda Reservation. So a brief history. After various cultures of indigenous people succeeded each other in the Great Lakes area, in late prehistoric times, the 5 nations of the Iroquois coalesced. Before the mid-14th century, they had formed the Iroquois Confederation. The Seneca were one of 5 nations of the Haudenosaunee. Now, this is interesting. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever seen this part before, but this is my first time hearing this. So it said before the mid 14th century, right? They formed a confederation. So this is basically before Britain got here, and possibly before France got here. We know Spain was already here by that time. So you figure mid 1500s, right? So they formed this confederacy of 5 nations basically in the mid 1500s. And the way that it words, it says, after various cultures of indigenous people succeeded each other, basically mean there were territory wars. People were actually fighting, and tribes were winning battles and tribes were losing battles. And it says in late prehistoric times. So I don't know, what's the definition of prehistoric? It says the 5 nations of the Iroquois coalesced. And before the mid 14th century, they formed an Iroquois confederacy. So the Iroquois confederacy was formed basically before there was a lot of teaming up, if you will, with the European countries. It says the current location of the Tonawandana Reservation is believed to be close to the likely poorly defined border between the historic Seneca homeland and its rivals, the Neutral Nation, that occupied the Niagara region at the time of the French missionary Joseph de la Roche d'Alliance arrival in the area of 1627. During the Beaver Wars of the 17th century, the Seneca invaded what is now western New York, wiping out the Neutrals and other tribes in the region. Well, who are the Neutrals? Dare we ask that, Bones?
Anybody who didn't want to go along with them, neutral. We said that neutral get you.
Whacked.
Neutral get you hurt quick.
Grand Rising, Mark Walton. So let's find out who the Neutral Nation is. That's interesting. It says not to be confused with neutral country. So the Neutral Confederacy, or Neutral Nation, or Neutral People, were Iroquois-speaking North American indigenous people who lived near the northern shores of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie on the west side of the Niagara River, west of Tobacco Nation. They were related to the Iroquois Confederation to their southeast. The Huron peoples also living around Lake Ontario. The Erie people of the South Shore and Lake Erie. The Tobacco people situated east of Lake Erie. And the Susquehannocks of central Pennsylvania. Like the others of Iroquois culture, the tribes would raid and feud with fellow Iroquois tribes when they weren't gaming and engaging in friendly competitions. They were generally wary of rival Algonquin peoples, such as those that inhabited Canada to the east and along the St. Lawrence Valley drainage catchment. Iroquois tribes were later known to historians for their fierce ways in which they waged war. Some tribes were highly inclined to competitive games. A largely agrarian society, neutral farmsteads were admired and marveled over by European leaders writing reports home. Stop. So not only were, according to this information, again, take it with a grain of salt, three parts of information. Side A, side B, and the facts, or the truth. So according to these reports, the Iroquois, or the Haudenosaunee, were already having friendly bantering, raiding each other's campsites, raiding each other's sites and things of that nature, and they were highly competitive. It says, like the other Iroquois culture, the tribes would raid and feud with fellow Iroquois tribes when they weren't gaming and engaging in friendly competitions. They were generally wary of rival Algonquin tribes, such as those that inhabited Canada to the east along St. Lawrence Valley drainage catchment. Bones, what does that mean when it says you're wary of somebody?
When you wary of somebody?
Yeah, when you wary.
Worried about them, they're on your mind. Don't know what they're gonna do. Got your eyes on them.
So it also stands to reason that just because they were Algonquin, that don't mean you trusted them, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because what you just read, the Haudenosaunee were fighting each other. See, I'm gonna call them what they called themselves. I forget what the French gonna call them, but yeah, the Haudenosaunee, they were fighting amongst themselves because they're made up of multiple different groups. All tribes are, and we got to remember this.
So it seems like, again, a third of this information has to have some relevance to it. These tribes are already warring and battling back and forth before the Europeans started engaging with them and started infiltrating and having babies with them and becoming kings. I mean, not kings, but chiefs. So they were already wary of one another. What it boils down to is you're gonna be wary of people that look like you, but you're not gonna be wary of people that don't look like you. Don't y'all find that strange? Unless somebody that looks like you, that you have confidence in, does what? Vouch for them. I'm gonna say it again. You're wary of people that don't look. That you're wary of people that look like you, meaning that we don't trust them over there. But you're gonna trust Europeans. The only way that you would trust a European is that somebody that you trusted vouch for them. So if they're already warm with one another, and they see these Europeans come on their shores, one, we know that they was invited. That's number one. Number two, there had to be further vouching going on, meaning that these people are cool.
Mm-hmm.
In order for less than 100 years later, you have chiefs being welcomed into their tribe. So this whole Indian utopia that existed before the European colonizers got here is being disproven. Not only is it being disproven in Wikipedia or books written by these Europeans, but it's also being disproven from other tribes that existed that have history that go back before these Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two sources that say that these tribes were already warring with each other and didn't trust each other before the Europeans got here. I just wanted to put that out.
Yeah, because this the next thing. We have to stop thinking or stop believing that, like you said, this utopia of people. There has never been a completely group of people on one landmass where everybody got along. Brothers and sisters in the same household don't get along every day. So how are we supposed to believe people from all stretches and all walks of life got along together? There's always going to be differences and disagreements. That's life. Animals don't get along every day.
Yeah. And I think that's something that needs to be reiterated, because once you find out your tribe, that's the beginning. That's not the end. You start to learn things about your tribe that you don't particularly like. And just because you don't like what you learn about your tribe is no excuse to not help your tribe and not correct what was wrong. Free says, wary. Late 15th century, plus 2 years. Ware from Old English. Prudent, aware, alert, wary, from Proto-Germanic wares. Sources also of Old Norse var. Attentive, Gothic, was cautious. Then it goes on to read the power root word is ware, perceive, watch out for. Warily, wariness. So you're being cautious. So if you're going to be cautious around your own, around people that are in your family, that means in order for somebody to come into your tribe, somebody's got to vouch for you. Somebody opened the front door. Compendio says utopia in principle equals dystopia in practice. So let's finish talking about these neutrals. It says that the neutrals were primarily engaged in hunting and trading with others using animal skins. The largest group referred to themselves as the Chanotan, keepers of the deer, partly due to their practice of herding deer into pens and strategy used while hunting. Other group of Anguarahara near the Big Waters, or possibly the Strait, populated the more southern Niagara Peninsula and accounted for the origin of the word Niagara. The Channelton territory contained large deposits of flint, which was a valuable resource for sharp tools, fire starting, and eventually firearms, which as a primary resource allowed them to trade simultaneously with off-warring Huron, and Iroquois tribes. So even though they didn't trust these people, these tribes, they still traded with them. So there was a mutual respect because they, you have something we need, we got something you need, so we gonna trade off. But I still got my eye on it. Since they were not at war with the Huron or Iroquois in 1660, Jesuits traveling in the area of what is now Hamilton, the lower Grand Valley of Niagara, called them the neutral. However, the Confederacy did have feuds with the Algonquian people who were believed to live in what is now Michigan. In 1616, the neutral nation was estimated to have 40 villages and 4,000 warriors. In 1641, after a series of epidemics, the Jesuits counted 40 neutral villages with about 12,000 people. During the 16th century and early 17th centuries, the territory of the Attawandaron, as they were called by the Huron Nation, was mostly within the limits of present-day southern Ontario. The Museum of Ontario Archaeology summarizes the territory as follows. They inhabited dozens of villages in southeastern Ontario, stretching along the north shore of Lake Erie from Niagara, Pennsylvania to Detroit River, perhaps as far north as Toronto in the east of Goodrich in the west. So it breaks down the territory. Interesting. It says the French called the people neutral, la nation neutre, because they tried to remain neutral between an ongoing off-again warring between the Confederacy of the Huron tribes and nations of the Iroquois Confederacy. The neutral territory contained flint grounds near the eastern end of the Lake Erie. This important resource was used to make spearheads and arrowheads, and its importance gave the neutral power to maintain their neutrality. Once the neighboring countries began receiving firearms through trade with the Europeans, however, the possession of the flint grounds served much less advantage. Flints were still used in trade for flint locks on guns. The neutral continued to trade commodities such as maize, tobacco, and black squirrel, and other high-grade furs for steel axes, glass beads, cloaks, conch shells, gourd containers, and firearms. The neutral Confederacy had much in common with Teton Nation, and may have had shared ancestry. Jesuit Relations of 1652 describes tattooing among the Teton, also called Tobacco Nation, as well as neutrals along this tattooing in some nations is so common that the one which we call the tobacco and the neutral, I know not whether a single individual was found who was not painted in this manner of some part of their body. The chief of 28 villages, villas, and towns in the last years of neutral confederacy was named Sohadison, or Sohadison, child of the sun, who led several raids against the Muscatan, aka the Fire Nation, who lived in territory in present-day Michigan and Ohio. In 1627, report called him the chief of all nations. Sohadison died around 1646, within a generation. By the early 1670s, all the nearby First Nations, the Erie, the Huron, Neutrals, Tobacco tribes, and even the fierce Susquehannocks would all fall between rampage epidemic disease or the bloody beaver wars between themselves, and or to the last tribe standing with a significant military power. So the neutral, their strategy was, as long as y'all need flint, because we control that territory, we can remain neutral and barter with both of you. But who interfered with that? The French, right? So if I give you guns, then you no longer need flint. Not to that capacity. Which explains why the Haudenosaunee Five Nations were able to overrun the neutrals, because they didn't need the flint anymore. And there was no need for them to have a truce. Because I no longer need what you have.
Yeah, basically cut off the tribe's resources and abilities to be self-sufficient by eliminating their trade.
Replacing their resource with something bigger and better. Yeah, that is messed up, Free. But at the end of the day, you know, tribes let them in. So if we're going to get mad, we're going to get mad at each other. Get mad at ourselves. That's why clean your house is important.
Yeah, I don't know too many invasions where you trade with the invader if they invading you. Could be wrong. Just in my study, I never found no time to where two nations were trading but invading each other and fighting with each other. But you trading with each other.
So we want to talk about these Piton people. But one thing I do want to talk about before, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm about to say we done came this far, and no sense in shying away now.
Here's one thing that I want to talk about, because the narrative is that disease took a lot of us out. Okay.
That bobo.
So I can only give you stuff based off of my personal experience. Okay. And what I know. We know for a fact there were tribes that were responsible for healing and for medicine men and women. Those are tribes that were dedicated to that. We know we were some of the healthiest people on the planet and some of the strongest people on the planet. So the notion that a disease that's introduced could wipe us out is bothersome to me. I'm going to explain to you why. After I got out of the military, I never had a flu shot again. So we got inoculated 3 times because I was in for 3.5 years. So I got inoculated 3 times. After that, I hadn't been inoculated since. Right? When I was working in government contracting spaces, you know they're dealing with recycled air. Everybody would get sick from the flu except for me. This happened every year. How is it that I kept getting introduced to the same virus as everybody else was getting introduced to and had been inoculated in over 10 years, but I wasn't getting sick, but everybody else was? And I come from a line of family where getting sick is basically unheard of. It hardly ever happens. And you figure I am not, quote unquote, the healthiest eater. And I don't have access to tribal people that can heal us. So how is it that you introduce these diseases on us and it wipes us out? So what happened? The medicine men and women left? And the medicine men and women were travelers. So it's not like you took them out first and then you got everybody else sick, because if that was the case, we would have known, we would have heard about it. Or some of the healers would have said that. So, that's why I have a problem with believing or accepting that people with a strong immune system could become that easily overcome by infectious disease. They've been trying to kill us since we've been here. They ain't succeeded yet. And they got a lot more technology now than they had then with some blankets or some smallpox. I'm just saying. That's just my personal opinion. So with that, we're going to talk about the tobacco people. Thank you for entertaining my rant.
Ain't no problem. I feel the same way.
The tobacco people, tobacco nation, the Piton, or the Tian Otati, people among the hills of the mountains. That's what that means in Iroquois language. Tian Otati were a historical First Nations and band government closely related to the Huron Confederacy, or the Wendat. Their homeland was located along the southeast edge of Georgia Bay of Lake Huron, in the area immediately to the west of the Huron Territory, in southern Ontario, of present-day Canada. One of the smaller Iroquois tribes, when they became known to Europeans, they had 8 to 10 villages around the 1610s and they may have numbered several thousands prior to European contact. The French missionaries of the early 1600s named them the Tobacco Nation because they grew large quantities of tobacco, which they traded extensively. Following dissemination by Eurasian infectious diseases after the 1634, such as smallpox, to each Native Americans had no immunity, both the Huron-Wendat Piton societies were in weakened state through the late 1630s and 1640s. Although they spoke Iroquoian languages, they were independent of the five nations of the Iroquois Confederacy based south of the Great Lakes in present-day New York. The powerful Iroquois sent raiding parties against the smaller tribes in 1648 and 1649 as part of the Beaver Wars associated with the lucrative fur trade and virtually destroyed them. Some remnant Piton joined with refugee Huron to become the Huron-Piton Nation, who were later known as the Wyandot. So you have the Wyandot, which is a teaming of the Wendat and the Piton Nation. LJ Free says, I don't get sick either. Seasonal allergies only occasionally. That's because of the trees.
I mean, the majority of us are like that, unless we put in foreign substances in our body too much.
So, yeah. French traders called these First Nations people the Piton, form of the French word for tobacco because of their industrious cultivation of that plant. The word Piton was derived from the early French-Brazilian trade and comes from the Guarani indigenous language. The word later became obsolete in the French language. The Iroquois and Mohawk language name for tobacco is Oiagua. French colonial traders in the Ohio Valley transliterated the Mohawk names as Gayadote, their spelling of how it sounded in their language. Later, European American settlers in the valley adopted this name. They named the Guyandate River in southwestern West Virginia for the Wendat people who had migrated to the area during the Beaver Wars of the late 17th century. Under settler pressure, the Wendat were forced to move further west to Ohio Territory in the 1830s during the period of the Indian removal. Most removed to Indian Territory in present-day Kansas and Oklahoma. Two tribes are federally recognized in the United States: the Wendat Nation in Oklahoma and the Wyandot Nation of Kansas. Both of them are pronounced Wyandot, Wyandot Nation of Oklahoma and the Wyandot Nation of Kansas. It says the Jesuit relations of 1652 describe the practice of tattooing among the Piton and the neutrals. It says, and this tattooing in some nations is so common that in one which we call the tobacco, and that which, on account of enjoying peace with the Hurons and with the Iroquois, was called neutral. I know not whether a single individual was found who was not painted in this manner of some part of their body. So basically what they're saying is that almost all of them were tattooed, had some form of tattoo on them. Grand Rising Joe 47. It says the Piton Nation shared a similar dialect with the Huron Nation and many of the same culture customs. They had an alliance with the Neutral Nation and the Ottawa and the Adawa, an Algonquin-speaking nation. In 1648, this nation, along with Huron, Erie, Neutral, and Winrow nations, were under attack by warriors of the Iroquois Confederacy. All were effectively destroyed in 1650 or 1651. Members who survived were absorbed by the Iroquois or by other nations. Some of the Piton joined with the Huron to create the Piton-Huron Nation. After years of wandering and living in various areas of the Great Lakes, this group was living near Detroit by 1701 and later claimed land north of the Ohio River. They began to trade in Pennsylvania, where they were called the Wyandot and corruption of Wendat. They were all resettled in Wyandotte County, Kansas, and in 1867, the American government gave them land in Indian Territory, now northeastern Oklahoma. So that's some information about the Pitons, who were familiar with the neutral nations. So going back to the neutral nation, I'm going to read a little bit further, and then we're going to go back to where all this started. It said the chief of 28 villas and towns in the last years of the neutral confederacy was named, Soda Harrison. So let me Move a little further. The language. Yeah, we talked about the language. It said that language was similar to Haran, so it was a dialect of Iroquois. They believe that all three groups had once been a part of a single group. Their neighbors, the Wendat, which Wyandotte or Haran nation referred to the neutrals, Chinatown, impolitely as Adawandaran, meaning those whose speech is awry, because their dialect was different. Apparently, the Chinatown referred to the Wendat with the same term because the language of the neutral nation has been extinct for over 3 centuries. Like many of the original northern Iroquois-based languages, nothing more is known about the neutral's dialect. Isn't that interesting? Let's talk about the fate of the neutrals. It said they had an alliance with the Winron Huron, the Winro-Ranan. Woo, say that 3 times fast. Winro-Ranan, also Iroquois language people. You notice all these people speak the same language, right, Bones? To defend against the powerful Iroquois nations who were also Iroquois speakers. This dissolved in 1639 with devastating effects, particularly with the Winro-Huron and the Winro-Huron made an alliance with the Huron, who were located further away and would offer much support. In 1653, the Iroquois Confederacy had practically annihilated the smaller neutral nation, destroying their village, including Conde Ocho, at the east end of the nation. In further detail, after destroying the Hurons, the Iroquois attacked the neutrals around 1650 during a period now loosely referred to as the Beaver Wars. Referring to the thefts of furs, the Iroquois Confederacy declared war on the Attawandaron. Some historians state that the Iroquois destroyed the neutral society, which ended as a separate entity in 1651. However, the neutral population had already been reduced by disease such as smallpox and measles carried by Europeans. In 1652, the Iroquois had also destroyed the Huron, Piton, and Erie nations. Some of the neutrals were incorporated in the Seneca villages. In upstate New York, and others were absorbed into various other societies. The Kinjacti family, one of the last known families to trace their ethnicity to the neutrals, still lives among the Senecas. Jesuits wintered with the neutral people in 1652 through 1653. The last reference to the neutrals as an independent society was made in the fall of 1653. A historical mention in 1864 refers to the Huron de la Nation Neutre and Hurons Neutres, neutral Hurons. So that gives you a little bit of information about the Hurons, who resided in the Tonawanda Reservation. Which is where the Chanadoti was also living next to, which are basically from the Cayuga people, which are the nation of the Iroquois. Any questions, comments? No? Let's see, so I'm going back to the Cayuga main page. Did the history. Let's see. Let's do this. Catch up on a little bit of their history. I'll start in the 5th paragraph. Some Seneca and Cayuga had left the area early, even as Tuscarora were migrating north in the early decades of the 1700s, going west to the Alleghenies to the long, depopulated Ohio County lands, settling in western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and eastern Ohio. These tribes became known as the Mingo or Black Mingo, for they had a bad reputation, so were able to take in their kin after that systematic bloodletting in 1779 After the Sullivan Campaign, more Cayuga joined them, as well as some other bands of Iroquois who left New York before the end of the Revolutionary War. As the American Revolution was nearing its end, settlers resumed trekking west of the Alleghenies in a trickle that by 1810 became a flood. Other eastern Amerindians, joined by eastward remnants of Susquehanna and large groups of Delaware peoples, had also traveled the ancient trails through the gaps of the Allegheny to found settlements such as Kittanning Village and others in the Ohio Valley. Only weakened, cobbled together tribes such as the Mingo were in the land, which was still mostly empty, creating a situation drawing settlers west in increasing numbers. By 1831, those Indians left in the lands east of Ohio were encouraged by bigotry and at times forcibly removed to the Indian Territory, in what became Oklahoma. Their remnants, consequently, the Seneca Cayuga tribe of Oklahoma, are a federally recognized tribe. In November 11th, 1794, the New York Cayuga Nation, along with other Haudenosaunee nations, signed the Pickering Treaty with the United States, by which they ceded much of their lands in New York to the United States. Forced to do so as allies of the defeated British, it was the second treaty the United States entered into. It recognized the rights of the Haudenosaunee as a sovereign nation. The Pickering Treaty remains an operating legal document. The U.S. government continues to send the requisite gift of muslin fabric to the nations each year. The state of New York made additional treaties with the tribes but failed to get them ratified by the Senate, as it lacked the constitutional authority to deal directly with the tribes. Individual tribes have sued for land claims since the late 20th century, charging New York had no authority for their actions. The state rapidly arranged sales of more than 5 million acres of former Iroquois lands to inexpensive prices to encourage development in the state. It also granted some western lands to war veterans in lieu of pay. The speculators bought up as much land as they could and resold it to new settlers. Land-hungry Yankees from New England flooded into New York in the waves of new settlement, as did some settlers from the Mohawk Valley. Immigrants also came from the British Isles and France after the war. That's interesting, to say the very least. So the Pickering Treaty it says remains an operating legal document. Free says, interesting, they use the term bloodletting. What were they letting into their blood? Life is in the blood. What little bit I know about some tribes and tribal traditions, whenever somebody was sick, they would cut certain parts of their body to bleed out the infections. Now, I don't know if that's what this tribe did, but that is my understanding of bloodletting. I guess we could have to look it up. But what I find interesting is that the Pickering Treaty remains an operating legal document. So the U.S. government continues to send the requisite gifts of muslin fabric to the nations each year. So let's look at the Pickering Treaty, shall we? It's actually on their website. So I will send you a copy of it. It's the Canandaigua Treaty of 1794. It says, the Canandaigua Treaty of 1794. It says 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 the Canan Pickering Treaty. It says, the Canandaigua Treaty is a treaty between the United States of America and the Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy, Seneca, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, Mohawk, and Tuscarora. It was signed in Canandaigua, New York, on November 11, 1794, by schemes representing the Grand Council of the Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy and the Colonial Timothy Pickering, who was the official agent of the President George Washington. This treaty is sometimes called the Pickering Treaty. Let me blow this up a little bit so I can read it. The Haudenosaunee nations sent 1,600 representatives to the Treaty Council. The Seneca sent an impressive 800 representatives. The United States sent both Colonel Timothy Pickering and General Israel Champion. It was General Israel Champion who closed the Treaty Council site to be at Canandaigua, which is basically Canada, New York. Quaker representatives led by William Savory of Philadelphia also attended this treaty council. These Quaker mediators have been invited to the treaty negotiations by the Seneca people because Quakers were the trustworthy, peaceful people who could read English and help to ensure fair negotiations. Now we understand how Quakers played a part in this.
Peace, I'm back. Didn't want to interrupt. Good news.
What you got?
We'll talk later. We got the keys. We got the keys.
So I was reading the Pickering Treaty, and come to find out, this treaty, which was signed in 1794, is still a recognized document. So, did I put that in a? Yeah, I did. Okay, I did put the link in the chat. That's right. In the chat, it says the Canandaigua Treaty today, as part of its continued observance of the Canandaigua Treaty, the United States each year provides $4,500 for the annual distribution of cloth to your Six Nations peoples. This annual distribution of cloth is 200-plus-year-old affirmation of the obligations of the United States government made in this treaty. The Canandaigua Treaty, by celebration held each year on November 11th in Canandaigua, New York, is an event commemorating the continued observance of this treaty by the Six Nations people. Please see Canandaigua Treaty for Celebration webpage. So, not all treaties have been ignored by the United States. Seems like, right? Bones, what do you think?
Facts. Well, we know they're honoring some of them still. Just got to do the research to find out which ones.
That's what happens when you read. Because you let some people tell it, all of the treaties have been dishonored, and none of the treaties have been signed. It's, again, take this with a grain of salt, but this is actually on the tribal's website. The link that I sent you is on their website. So either the United States and them align, or they're both telling the truth. I don't know. You decide. Do some more research, and let us know. Get back to us. If we're wrong, we'll correct it. But as of right now, the Pickering Treaty is a treaty that is still in observance today. They're still sending them $4,500 worth of fabric each year. Just saying. So this is crazy.
I mean, I don't know why people find it hard to believe. We done grew up in situations to where homeboy or homegirl, sometimes sister or brother, even cousins, make deals that'll cut you out.
And if you think that's not the truth, heaven forbid, if you've had a situation to where there's been a death in your family and it's been a mother or father or a prominent family member, and just how family members get treacherous over the will or over the insurance money. I mean, people get crazy.
What?
People get crazy.
Man, me and Brittany went a whole year arguing and fighting with family. So yeah, I know that firsthand. People you never seen before start popping up when they think there's something to be handed out.
So if that's the case, why is it so hard for us to believe that our own people and our own tribe was selling us out?
You know what I be saying? People want to believe that beautiful lie over the ugly truth. They keep fantasizing on this romance story. You know, everything ain't always peaches and cream. Sometimes you got to face the reality that you're on. I mean, who else could put you in this situation? For you to sit back and say an outsider did it, then that means you're giving credit to their white supremacy and being superior baloney. You get what I'm saying? Every time you perpetrate that mess. And isn't it easier for your own to hurt you than it is for a stranger? Because you never expect it to come from your own.
I mean, you're right, but I guess my frustration comes in when we, and again, of course, I'm generalizing. My point to any specific individual. Generalizing. When we as a group always want to blame somebody else for what's going on and refuse to accept personal responsibility. By refusing to accept personal responsibility or the part that we played in, we are preventing ourselves from fixing problems. Because I can't, or it is very difficult for me to make the person who wronged me do anything, especially if they choose not to do something. I can, on my side, look at what I did to contribute and make corrective action. That's just my perspective.
Facts. You just can't say you want better. You got to be willing to put up or shut up if you want better.
And again, I am by no stretch of the imagination inferring or insisting that the European countries had absolutely nothing to do with our demise. I'm not saying
no. That's not what we're saying. Well, we're not even talking about them.
Right. What I am saying is we need to recognize our contribution, our tribe's contribution, and how we allow that to happen. Because what good does it do to get back with our tribes and then end up having the same thing happen again? Because we're under this false ideology of this utopia that everybody's going to do what they're supposed to do. And because you look like me, you automatically have my best interest at hand. When before we became a tribe, you got people in the community that are scamming. I mean, that's just real. And I'm not even so inclined to blame the scammers. This is the reason why I say this. Is because if I know that you're scamming and I don't say anything and let you do it, then I'm worse than the person that's doing the scamming because I know.
You allowing it to happen. Like I said, in too much time in history, we have been the finances of our own destruction.
Say that one more time. I'll take it.
Yeah, the majority of the time, we are the finances of our own destruction. We do the most damage to ourselves. It's like I was telling a young brother yesterday. I told him, do you realize our ancestors fought not to have brands on their body? Now we fight to go to work to make money just to put brands on our body. Nike, Gucci, Prada. You know what I'm saying? We finance our own destruction and want to be mad at the rest of the world.
You ain't had to go there, did you?
No, I just had to tell the young man, you know. Then he sat down and he started looking at it and he was like, you know what? I get it. You know, you complain about the criminal system, but you buying products from people that take your money and turn right back around and finance private jails and prisons. You know, we got to be more cautious on where we spend our time and our money. Know where it's going. Know what's happening. Be aware of your community and your surroundings.
So you got me thinking of something when you said financing our own destruction in our community. And remember when you put in the on the Toxic Assembly website about excuse me about where the sovereign citizen movement came from, right?
Correct.
And in it was talking about how when the FBI was doing this investigation, and it said that the majority of the quote-unquote African-American/Black community got involved was during what time period?
2008, the housing bubble. During the housing market crash, the majority of our people ran to that movement after it.
And so you had a number of people who were victims. Well, we can call it what it is. We're gonna call them victims. We're gonna prove to you there was victims very short. Victims of the housing crisis. And then you had people that were actually already on the side of not filing taxes or not having to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And we're in that movement. So you had people that were under the impression that you don't have to file taxes or pay taxes, merging with the people that were victims of the housing market. And then all of a sudden now they're being involved in a sovereign citizen movement that was once solely occupied by white supremacist groups.
Correct.
So why are we bring this up?
We about to drop a bomb on them.
Well, the reason why we're bringing this up is because if you stay outside of your own system that your ancestors created, you will not see the trickery that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, I'm going to drop a link that talks about this little known fact that allowed the banks to buy back all the houses.
Give it to them.
And then resell those houses.
Hold up.
I wonder who paid that. I wonder who paid that.
Can you say that one more time, please?
Stop the presses. Rewind.
I got some questions.
You said you got a question?
Yeah, I just want you to repeat that. Could you repeat that, please?
So there was a situation to where when the housing market crashed, which was basically caused for this to happen, where it allowed the banks to basically get the houses back because of foreclosure, pay that debt off, and then resell the houses. And they did it using our money.
Dun dun dun.
People like, what do you mean, our money? I'm not talking about
TMAs. What do you mean? No, brother TMAs, what do you mean by our money? Don't know. Our money, what do you mean?
Say what now?
I was seeing if you was calling JG Wentworth. My bad. Go ahead.
No, I'm not calling. My money, I need. I'm not calling JG Wentworth. I did close the link, so I gotta give me a second. I'm gonna pull it up. What I mean by our money is some of the things that we've been talking about. About HUD. And so I'm gonna put this in here for people.
Facts, Copper and Dio.
People think this is a game. There's a program that's called.
Speaking of games,
the NSP. This is public information. This is nothing. It's called NSP. It's called the Neighborhood Stabilizing Program, and it was established for the purpose of providing emergency assistance to stabilize communities with high rates of abandoned and foreclosed homes, and to assist households whose annual incomes are up to 120% of the area median income. The U.S. Congress appropriated 3 rounds of NSP funding. Congress has not allocated any additional funds to NSP since the 3rd round of funding, and most grant guarantees are in the process of completing activities and closing out their grants. NSP 1. Pay attention to the dates, please. NSP 1 provided $4 billion to 307 state and local governments on a formula basis. NSP 1 was established by Section 2301B of the Housing and Economic Recovery Act of 2008. What happened in 2008 again?
Housing market crash.
Oh, okay.
Down.
It sounds like I just heard that.
So the Housing and Economic Recovery Act, HERA for short, created NSP and was the basis of subsequent NSP funding rounds. NSP 2 was authorized under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, also referred to as ARRA, A-R-R-A, or the Recovery Act. It provided $2 billion in the NSP funds, and they were available on competitive basis to 56 states, local governments, nonprofits, and consortia of nonprofit entities. From the $2 billion in NSP funds, the Recovery Act also authorized HUD to establish NSP-TEai, a $50 million allocation made available to national and local technical assistance providers to support NSP grantees.
Tech support. $50 million for tech support?
Yeah. Did anybody hear about this? Anybody?
I just heard about it.
Okay.
Anybody? Going once, going twice? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anyone?
NSP 3 provided an additional $1 billion on a formula basis to 270 state and local governments. NSP 3 was authorized by Section 1497 of Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act of 2010, also known as the Dodd-Frank Act. Stop.
One more time.
Pause.
One more time. Who was that again?
Who, Frank?
The Dodd-Frank Act.
Frank White.
So let's look at what it requires for you to be eligible for said funds.
Come on, let go.
Cliff Tip said I had to pull over.
She said, excuse me. Excuse me.
Right now. I'm finna be late to this rise and I need to what?
So it said NSP funds were used for activities which included established financing mechanisms for purchase and redevelopment of foreclosed homes and residential properties. Sound familiar? Purchase and rehabilitate homes and residential properties abandoned for foreclosure or abandoned or foreclosed. It will also these activities included to establish land banks for foreclosed homes.
It gets deeper.
Demolish blighted structures and redevelop demolished or vacant properties.
Blight. What is blight? But we'll talk about that.
So it says, in addition, NSP funds were required to meet one of the following CDBG national objectives. You only had to meet just one.
Just one. Uno.
Of these.
Not uno mas. Not one more. Just one.
Number one requirement. One of one. You don't have to meet one. Housing activities. You had to be providing or improving permanent residential structures that will be occupied by a household whose income is at or below 120% of area median income.
The ghetto. Doom, 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 doom.
Criteria number 2. Area benefit activities. They had to be benefiting all the residents of a primarily residential area in which at least 51% of the residents have incomes at or below 120% of area median income. And that's
The
for
ghetto.
NSP1 England. Okay.
Doom, 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 doom. They talking about the ghetto.
Or if you have limited clientele activities, meaning serving a limited clientele whose incomes are at or below 120% of area median income.
Ain't that still the ghetto?
That's what it sounds like to me.
So those are the only criterion that you had to get access to this money.
You have to get your firstborn, no DNA.
Oh, Cliff Tip says, "Damn you, Jerry Jones."
You need,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't need no transcripts or your financial history or nothing like that.
No.
No prior
it didn't look
educational
like
records or nothing.
No.
I just had to be in the area that we call the ghetto and be able to take up these houses that was left vacant or got snatched back from the banks, because we know in 2008 they gave our people loans at outrageous rates for houses that they could not afford to ever pay back. True?
True.
Facts.
So why?
And Dodd-Frank, a lot of people.
Now go ahead, Bones.
Oh, and Dodd-Frank, I was just gonna drop on Dodd-Frank that all of us heard about it. They just disguised it very well. You know it as the bank bailout. This where the money came from for the bank bailout.
Mm-hmm. Now, why is this important? Because this money is from HUD, PIH. Anybody know what PIH stands for?
Public Indian
Party in here?
Housing.
Oh, I thought it was party in here.
Housing.
Public Indian housing.
Hold
And who
on.
marched for that, if I might add?
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, okay. All right. Ain't that 1968
Mm-hmm.
Fair Housing Act?
Oh man, Fair Housing Act.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure, make my notes are lining up.
The reason why this money is being used is because no one is claiming it. Every county, every city, every state has monies available, not only for PIH codes, but for Indians who are in these vicinities.
Not ask yourself why Walmart is in the hood. Not ask yourself why foreigners can come and open up corner stores in your neighborhood. Where the finances come from? Think about it.
And the reason why these foreigners look at you with such disdain, like you're lazy, because they're being informed that you know about this and you're just not doing anything about it. And so when you come to patronize their store, they need to keep an eye on you, because your job is to come in there and take and vandalize their store and keep them from benefiting. Now you wonder why you and your kids get followed everywhere you go.
That's what they're taught when they in the country, doing that naturalization. When they come to become citizens, that part I consider that a secret society, because ain't none of us can ever go in that room for that naturalization act, because you have to know your original language and all this blah 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 blah. But yeah, they know. We don't.
So this is why I'm not really a big fan of ADOS or reparations or any of that. I mean, if you are, that's great. That's fantastic. I hope you get all the reparations that you can handle and that you deserve. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that we on something different here. This money is here. This money has always been here. Well, it's been here since 1968. But
if you don't go get it, they're gonna continue to use it. You're gonna continue to have these billion-dollar stadiums
sitting in the
Smack
hood.
dab,
Never
smack
ask yourself
dab
why
in it.
the NFL, why all these stadiums sit in the hood. Who you think paying for it, relatives? Come on now. Who do you think paying for it?
HUD money.
Use it or lose it, LJ.
Did we drop it on them, and we've been dropping it on them for a long time that the NFL is a non-profit organization.
Mm-hmm.
There's a method to our madness here, relatives. The NFL is a non-profit organization. That's basically 501c3. They in there basically meaning tax deductible. So they're getting funds that were allocated for Indian brothers and sisters, getting it, building these stadiums, turn around not paying no taxes on it, and we running there every Saturday and Sunday, giving them more money. You wonder why ain't nobody listening to you? Really?
But, you rather go to the colonizer, the European, the government, and ask the government to give you land taken from your brothers and sisters so you can have your own land. Okay. Let me know how that works.
On your own. You want to be on their own?
I'm still waiting on how someone to tell me how that's appropriate to go ask the same individuals that took your land to give you back land so that you can have it. So basically what you're saying is, I'm going to go to the government and demand that they take land from my brothers and sisters and give it to me, instead of going to the brothers and sisters who are already on the land and we go get it together.
Man, they going to the government house and pretty pleased with ice cream and sprinkles.
Okay. Let me know how that works, because I'm still waiting on some proof that it works. Again,
Now,
go ahead, Bones.
I think we just gonna have to drop them 100 and something plus videos that show that everybody whoever tried it where they at right now. I think that's what we're gonna have.
I've been waiting on that. I think I requested that.
I was,
I
trying
need
to
to
give
be
people a
entertained.
chance. I'm trying to give people a chance because who knows? It might be somebody out there who did it. I'm like my brother Thomas. I can't say that it never happened. I know I never seen it in my lifetime, and I know we're sitting on hundreds and hundreds of videos on where it went wrong. So, yeah, I think we just might as well need to release that so we can put an end to all this foolishness.
I ain't never been to Waco.
Cliff Tiff.
And I ain't trying to go either.
Yeah, Cliff Tiff says, most of these mega churches, TD Jakes Church is massive, sitting on the banks of Mountain Creek Lake. Yeah, a lot of your churches, I'm not gonna say all of them, but a lot of them are tapping into those HUD funds because they are servicing Indian communities.
They're sitting right in the middle of our neighborhoods. Listen, all they need to do, did y'all not hear the 3 requirements? All you had to do was be servicing our people, buying up structures that was around our people, any benefit supplying for our people. That's it.
And also too, for those that and again, this is no knock on the slain rapper Nipsey Hussle. He also knew about those codes. That's how he was able to access and help his community in California. It wasn't all his money.
You better do your research.
Listen, not all his money.
I'm finna drop this real quick.
Listening, man.
A smart businessman does not spend his own money to do business. You understand? The way business work is you spend others' money to do business. Because if you have to spend the money out of your pocket to move forward, guess what? You're not going to be moving too far. That's business 101.
And Cliff Tip said that's why we're flooded with Family Dollars and chicken shacks. And if you're in a state that allows it, stores that serve alcohol.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's got to be there. Come on now.
Come on, it's time to start waking up, man.
Right across the street from your house.
We understand that it ain't pretty and it's sour, but I promise you, let's go ahead, let's digest this, and we can come out better on the other end ready to fix it. Yep. The time is now. The time is now.
And why is it that people that own these liquor stores and pawn shops don't look like us? Just a question.
You never noticed? Basically, nobody that owns any type of store or major service in your community looks like you. Think about that. Marinate on that. Oh yeah, the people in it at work might look like you, but guess what? Isn't there a HUD benefit for hiring people from these low-income neighborhoods? Don't they get a kickback for that too?
Well, you have to. Well, you have to because you have to hire because you got not only do you have to service them, but there's also grants and stuff for hiring the people to work there. But not only that, but you can also hire or hire subcontractors to do work. So there's money on top of money on top of money that you can put back into the community, but they're not putting it back into the community. They put it into their communities because they don't live where we live.
Where we live. Exactly. On this been going on
since 1968.
Since 1968?
Mm-hmm.
My.
Free says, don't forget the beauty supply stores and the gas stations. Exactly.
It's everything that's in our neighborhood. See, y'all have to ask yourself this. How does a foreigner come over here and get that type of line of credit? Because all they're doing is activating the services that been here for us because we ain't using them. We too busy hollering, get away from the government. Oh, I want to be a sovereign citizen. No, I don't want to tie in back into my tribe. There's too many people that don't look like me. Well, there's too many people that don't look like you because you're scared behind running. Come on, man. The end to this foolishness is right in front of our nose. The start for a better 7 generations is right in front of our nose. And the sad part is, the way the majority of us grew up in these neighborhoods, the hardships that our parents went through, that we went through, that some of our grandparents went through, it never had to be this way. Our neighborhoods never had to know hungry children, or scared mothers, or broken fathers, or tore down homes. We never had to go through it. And we need to stop blaming and realize that this been right here, public knowledge. I'm gonna say it again. It's public knowledge. It's on the front page of the website. So now what we gonna do? Barbecue a mildew.
You might want to think about it. Some of your leaders, some of your melanated leaders know about this information. They're just not telling you. Some people in these secret societies know about this information. They're just not telling you. Something to think about. Now, again, people do what they want to do. But here's my thing. Is it safe to say that some of these Pan-African communities might know about some of this stuff?
Yeah.
I know the Africans do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Put it like this. There's no way that you move up in the chain, you know what I'm saying, in business, in this country, and you don't know about it. They choose not to share, and they choose not to tell the people. Y'all better pay attention to what Donald Trump is really doing. He's letting the cat out of the bag. He's letting the cat completely out the bag. Study this man's history. Then he built what you would call Section 8 housing in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And he also get his funds through HUD.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he tried to use these same funds to invest in to get his casino. Oh, did I say too much? Casinos were HUD? Oh, my goodness.
Oh, wait, what? Hold on.
Art casinos on Indian reservations. Let's think for a second. Art casinos around Indian reservations.
Mm-hmm.
Nah. Why Trump spazzing again?
Oh, because they won't let him in. So, payback is a mug. Ever since he been in office, the American Indians, the Native Americans, excuse me, have been catching it. They've been catching it on all sides. That's right. Cliff said they don't look like Indians. To me, he said they don't look like Indians to Indians. So,
and like he said, he know that we don't look like Africans to the Africans. Facts, old Cliff. Like I said, Trump been snapping. Stop watching the BS media. Actually do some research.
Been reading something. You know what's going on.
Been reading. Y'all know about that reading rainbow. Stop playing.
Butterflies in the sky.
So just keep that in mind. We are financing our own demise, because the same door that we walked out of. Many of us walked out the door. Many of us got pushed out the door. That door is still open. But we have people in our own community telling us don't go back through that door. That's the European system. No, it's not.
You know what's sad?
Go ahead.
While they telling you don't go back through that door, they telling you from the other side of that door. Ain't that something? They in the room telling you, no, you don't want to come in here.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to what are you doing in the communities? If everything in your community is so secret and so sacred, how are you any different than Masons? How are you any different than any other secret society that we're accusing of nefarious intentions? Why aren't you sharing stuff that is public knowledge? Why aren't you sharing stuff that's helpful? My question is this. For however you felt about the Nation of Islam, and in its heyday, they had shops, they had community centers, they had planes, they had buildings, they had something that you could see to help the community. They wasn't hiding what they had. They wasn't hiding how they were helping people. So why all of a sudden, when we have so much access to being able to see what people can do, everybody want to be quiet? There were a lot of organizations in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that were doing something for the people and doing things in the community, and you could see it. This is before cell phones were invented. This is before the internet was invented. Now, why is it that we have all this access to this technology where we can see what's going on in other people's communities? Everybody want to be so secretive now. I ain't got to show you. I mean, actually, you're not hurting me. You're not hurting my community. But what you are hurting is your credibility. Because you're not stopping nothing over here. Because I'm minding my own business. I'm trying to help you out. If you real, I'm trying to help you out. If you ain't real, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to keep getting what you get. I'm going to say it again. You are not hurting anything in my community. I sit on the board of directors for NARAB. I'm a treasurer for NARAB. So I know what's going on. So you're not hurting nothing over here. Not a thing. And you ain't stopping nothing. So continue to keep your secrets and keep everything hush-hush and pretend like you're doing something because you don't want to show that you ain't doing nothing. And instead of actually doing something and showing it, you focusing on views. And if that's what you're doing, that's on you. But over here, we're going to mind our business, continue to do our work, and we're going to expose the frauds and the fakes if you come over here playing. This is not a game. And if you're scared to go outside your community or you scared to deal with other races, say it. Stop acting like you all hard. You ain't hard. You taking money from your own people. You won't go take money from somebody else's people, but you'll take money from your own community. Get out of here. Go have several seats.
Did he just say that? Yes, he did.
I said it. You scared. The reason why you won't go after other money is because you scared. You scared to talk to them people. Anybody that don't look like you scared of them. Not half of y'all work for them. Yeah, I said that too.
What TMH said.
You either working for them or you working for foreigners, but you want to bang on foreigners and you want to bang on the colonizers, but yet still you cashing that paycheck. Man, go sit down.
Who are you paying your rent to? Or your mortgage to?
You paying your cell phone bill.
What about that cell phone bill? Yeah, that car payment. Them groceries. Them shoes on your feet. Them drawers. Shirt on your back.
Bones, it's part of the hypocritic oath.
That water that's coming out the faucet. The water when you flush your toilet. Must we keep going? I mean, this is how foolish it has become.
You talk about the colonizers this, the colonizers that, but you are more in bed with the colonizers than anybody else.
And again, I'm not knocking a person that has a job, because I say this all day and twice on Sunday. If it wasn't for the fact that my company let me go, I'll still have a job. So I'm not knocking a job, but I'm not banging on the colonizers. I'm not banging on the Europeans. I'm not talking about how sorry they are and how they need to give me something. They give you a paycheck for showing up to work, and I say showing up to work because the majority of the people do less than 50% of the work at their damn job. You get paid to show the hell up, so don't act like you doing something. I used to work in IT.
Man, let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is, indentured servant. Come on, man. Let's stop playing.
Big old facts.
You collecting a check, you an indentured servant.
And again,
and that's not knocking. Right. That's not knocking nobody who has to go to work and do what they got to do to provide for their family. This is directed at the ones that's trying to tell our community, oh, start your own, do your own thing. This is what this is directed to.
Somebody trying to get you hemmed up.
Out it.
Yeah, but yeah, you petition
all this movement, dodo heads.
But you petition the colonizer to take land from your brothers and sisters and give it to you. What kind of weak, spineless punk move is that? Yeah, I said it. You got your own family that's got land. Instead of reaching out to them, you rather have the colonizer, your oppressor, take land from your brothers and sisters and give it to you.
Cause they scared and they know it.
So not only you scared of your oppressor, your colonizer, you scared of your own people. You won't even go talk to your own people. Man, go sit down and have several seats.
They the kind that run when you stomp your foot too hard.
Goldemon says we got a family reunion in Compton next year. My grandfather is Alton Davis Sr. All right, that's what's up. But again, like I said, anybody that's telling you about the colonizer, the first question you need to ask him is, do you own your own business? Are you running your own business to where your income is not dependent on the colonizer or a colonizer? Because if you are, you just stop that colonizer talk right here, right now. If you're working for an immigrant or somebody that's not from the United States, you need to stop all that talk. I'm sorry, I gotta say it. If you're working for somebody and you're trying to be militant,
just cut it out.
I'm explaining to you what that's like. I'm explaining to you what that's like. Full disclosure. That's like me being pro-black, right? Me being pro-black. Keep it in proper context. I'm pro-black, and I got a Polynesian wife. So my sisters are good enough to mentor. They're good enough to help, but they're not good enough to marry and have kids with. And for the record, I was married to a Polynesian for 20 years, and we do have kids. So I'm not throwing shots. I'm telling you, I'm giving you a look in my window. So I know what a hypocrite look like. I lived with one for 20 years. So how about
that? Yeah, they gonna realize what's different here. We're not afraid to stand in the mirror and face our own errors and do our best to fix it.
Yeah. My sisters
I mean, there's
were
no need to not act like you ain't got skeletons in your closet.
Yeah, they were good. Look, the sisters were good enough to help. They were good enough to mentor, but they weren't good enough to marry. Nah, not that. But I was pro-black though. I was pro-black. I was about my people though. Man, go sit down.
Professional black.
So that's the same concept. You banging on the colonizers. You talking about the oppressor, but you work for the oppressor. Really? Come on, man.
What if they really go?
Let's stop it.
Yeah, it's time to put the toys away and start getting some real work done. You know what I'm saying? It's time for all the felonious fairy tale sounding stories just to go away. Time for y'all to grow up.
Pretty much.
It's time to start putting real work in, and real work doesn't happen on an online channel or a stream. No, the real work is getting out in your neighborhood, knowing your community, knowing the ups and downs, knowing what need to be fixed, knowing what skill sets you got that can help it get fixed. You don't walk through your neighborhood, see something wrong, and don't act on it. You're the problem.
Facts. Man, I hate when people throw trash on the street. Look at all that trash on the street. About to go to the 7-Eleven real quick. Well, you ain't doing nothing. Come on, man. Show up.
I'm just saying, to me, it's just funny. I love my people. I love everybody, but I'm not putting up with BS. And if me loving you means I gotta watch you share my community or pull the wool over the eyes, yeah, then I guess I don't love you then, based off of your definition.
I don't love you. Oh,
Man, that's facts. I agree.
Call it out. Clean up our own house. We have to clean our own house because this is a mess. Our house is a mess. We need to clean it up. Don't do you no good to bring no big screen TV. Bring your nice white furniture, and it's dusty and dingy and dirty. And then
got
the
a
people
mound of flow
and
up
then the
under
people,
the rug.
yeah, then the people that come in your house, the people that come in your house are dirty. You just gonna let them sit out on your new stuff? That don't make any sense. No, but they
Like I said,
family though.
disregard,
Go ahead, Bones.
disregard that big dirt pile. Disregard the big dirt pile that's up under the rug. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Just step over it. Go around it. Why you still looking at
Step around it. Step around it.
Yeah.
It's a mound in the middle of the living room. But that's supposed to be
drawing attention to obvious stuff.
I'm not fooling with y'all no more. I'm done.
I mean, no, it is what it is. It's all no sellout fault anyway. So
Most of the time.
It's the ATV.
Oh my gosh.
I don't own an ATV, all right? I just found a video of somebody using one incorrectly.
Okay, so for those in the chat, do me a favor. If you would let somebody strap you in to a man-made or woman-made what they call
harness
harness
bungee harness. A human slingshot.
Yeah, human slingshot. And let somebody drive off with an ATV and pull you and launch you over 60 feet in the air. Throw some ones in the chat. Put some ones in the chat and let somebody do that.
I believe that it was a lot higher than 60 feet. That's what I think it was a lot higher than that.
I can see my house from here.
And I'm going towards it. Still, what's going on? The rope snap.
Like I said, if I ever wake up and somebody got me in a daggone launch machine.
Look, if TMH wakes up in a compromised position that he did not put himself in, he says anybody that's involved better run.
I don't care if he was a casual bystander.
Somebody got to explain why I'm in this.
Bystanders have been upgraded to suspects. Hold on, wait a minute. If you're involved, run. Now it's like, hey, if you there, over for you too.
Because if you watch, you know I wasn't with that.
That's that Kevin Hart feature on a 40-year-old virgin. It was like, what did I do? It don't matter. Don't matter. Guilty by association. GBA.
Mm-hmm.
GBA. Stood around watching.
You should have.
Ain't gonna stand there and let her do this.
You should call the cops. Call somebody. Say something. You see something, say something.
Close your eyes. Don't call nobody. Get me down. That's what you need to be doing. Get me down.
Now we're in a culture where everybody pull out a cell phone and they want to take a picture of it.
Exactly.
Man, please. Why do you help the person? Because you scared. That's why. It's easy to take a picture of it and then submit it. Then we got no backbone.
You had to upload that. That's messed up.
Look what I seen. I couldn't do nothing about it, but I seen it though.
Like, yo, he was like 5 feet away. Why didn't you help him, man? He was knocked out. You know, when he woke up though, wasn't that funny? No, it wasn't. You should have helped him. And now look at you in this hospital bed. What was his name? TMH. Too much honesty.
It is what it is. So at the end of the day, man, you know, we here for the people that believe or heard that they have Indian in their family, and they want to tie into their family, and then they want to tie into their tribes, and then they want to help their tribe. That's what we here for. That's all we here for. Nothing else. We minding our business. We're not here for views. We're not here to talk about people. We're not here for debates. We're here to help those that want to be, want to find out if they're Indian or not. And if for whatever reason you find out that you're not Indian, we help you too.
Facts. This is not a discriminative page. We don't discriminate.
Discriminative. Wouldn't it be
Hey, now,
discriminatory? We don't
Hey,
discriminate.
it's mine.
Okay.
I own
I'm
that
sorry.
word
I'm
now.
sorry. Go ahead.
It's on wax.
My bad.
You just patented it. Bang, like that.
It's on wax. Look, Beyonce got a word in the dictionary. I can get one.
Hey, you right? Cause who was Webster anyway? Forget him.
Who was Webster?
Webster, wasn't he that? No, let me stop.
No.
Was he on the television show?
No, that's
That was him. He made the dictionary.
no. Merriam-Webster.
Remember, he was like 200 years old or something like that. But he looked like he was a child.
No.
I think that's how it worked.
No.
Running around with Joe Lewis, 187 years old.
Immortals. That's what it is.
So again, we are here to help. We're here to help those who wanna tie into their tribe and help their tribe. That's what we're here for. Nothing more, nothing less. We're here to help you. If you want to help your community, we're here to help you. If you want to help your family, we're here to help you. If you want to help your tribe, we're here to help you. Anything else? Yeah, we're not interested. Keep it simple.
Yay.
So shout out to the chat. Hopefully y'all.
They out there getting genealogy done in the chat.
I know.
Yeah,
right?
you see that, right? You see Oak Cliff and Golden Moon going off.
Exactly.
They getting at it. Yeah, that's it. They
All
getting
these
at it.
out here.
Yeah, we gotta do a we have to do a community spotlight on Copper Color Queen now, since we know what her tribe is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's up. So if anybody else has gotten significant information, or they've got some significant moves done with their genealogy, and you want to share it, please by all means do so, and we will do a community spotlight on you as well. Or you got something going on in your community that you want to share with the genealogy, or talking to tribes or chiefs or people in the genealogy industry for their tribes. Hey, please let us know. Drop us your email so we can share that information. Because at the end of the day, if it's not about tying back into your tribe and helping your tribe, what are you doing?
Really?
What are you doing? Let's go get this money, man. Let's go help these people.
Time is now.
Right now.
Facts.
That's right.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So, anybody got anything else they want to say?
Nope.
Nope. Really?
About for Monday Rising show. Like I said, it's only Monday. Dropping bombs already.
We out
That's
here.
good.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. So if that's the case, then we might as well let everybody get out of their communities and do what they gotta do. Do their genealogy. Help people that they know do their genealogy. Tie into their tribes, and then help their tribes. And let's go ahead and get it. Let's go ahead and put these public Indian housing codes to work for these people.
Let's go. So y'all know what time it is. Y'all know the end game. Y'all know how we plan on doing it. If you need more information, you interested in finding out what you can do in your area with the resources you have, just hit us up at tauntonassembly.com or tauntonassembly@gmail.com.
You're breaking up a little bit, Bones.
Yeah, why is he
I'm posting all that. I'm posting that all up because he out in nature.
Yeah,
Always
you say
out.
he out in nature. What are you chasing, a deer?
I'm posting. I'm posting all the links in the chat, people. But yeah, if you need help, just email us on tauntonassembly@gmail.com. Any questions, any opposition, anything. If you heard something that we said wrong, you got any knowledge that you want to drop on us, anything, we're open to everything. So just go ahead and email us at tauntonassembly@gmail.com. Visit the website and have a great rest of y'all's day. It's still the rising, right? Yeah, great grand rising.
Yeah, that's it. So, Bones, anything you want to say before we go?
Hey, keep that work going. It's always fun with the relatives. Time for us to knock this out 7 generations forward.
All right.
I
then.
guess on that note, to the Malls Rising Show, peace.